Hey guys, today I am doing a video on parent involvement. Or no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. Take two. Hey guys, today I am doing a video on parent night and meet the teacher. So many of us are going back to school and we're getting ready for the first day. Some of you have already gotten ready for the first day and maybe now you're getting ready for parent night. I know that when I was in kindergarten, we had our parent night first and then we had our meet the teacher and then we started the first day of school. This year it's working out just a little bit different for me at the new school. So we are doing kind of a day where people can kind of walk in and it's very casual and parents can bring the kids, come in, walk through the classroom one day, and then our parent night is going to be in September. So with all of this happening, I have 10 tips for you that will help get you through these days, basically, because let's just all be honest that we are all stressed out and, you know, a few tears may have been shed quite a few times. So I'm here to give you 10 tips that have worked out really well for me in the past for getting ready for my parent night and my meet the teacher. Okay, so tip number 1 is to give them a checklist. So I did this one year and I can't remember why I did this. It wasn't my first year teaching. I did it my second year teaching. And I remember my first year teaching when I first started to do this in parent nights, parents were coming into the classroom. Y'all, it gets crazy. Like all of these parents are just standing up there just waiting to talk to you and you're like, I can't stop talking to this person. They won't stop talking to me. I need to go and talk to somebody else now. I need to say hi to these other people that I haven't had the chance. You know, and like personalities can kind of be a little overbearing sometimes, whereas some parents are just really like talkative and just want to get to know you and they'll just chat your ear up all day long. And then you have those parents that are kind of shy and they just kind of hold back a little bit. That's me. I'm one of those parents. And like they don't want to kind of intrude and say, oh, hey, you know, kind of deal. So I remember saying there's all these things that I need my parents to do that I want them doing, but I know that a lot of the times I'm not going to get to talk to them as soon as they walk into the door. So to help like stop that whole problem of me not being able to tell parents what I need them to do, I made out a checklist. And it was a, hello, if I wasn't able to speak with you right away, thank you so much for coming in. I am so excited that your child is joining my classroom, yada, yada, yada. And then it has like a list of like bullet points that they would have to go through and make sure that they completed, you know, like sorting out their supplies, making sure that they fill out the paperwork, making sure that they sort the paperwork, making sure that they get their special treat. You know, if it was during meet the teacher, make sure that they're doing the scavenger hunt with their child, you know, making sure that at so-and-so time they all come to the carpet so that they can hear their story for the day. So make sure that, and I would like literally, like y'all, I had my little papers and they were colorful. They were like bright orange or bright yellow or something that you could just pop and see it. And I would stand in front of my door and as parents were coming through, and if I was talking to one, I would be like, here's your paper, hi, and then I could continue to talk. So definitely create some type of a checklist. Sit down and think about all the things that you want parents to do, either during meet the teacher or parent night. Y'all, these work for both, no joke. So put them all into a little bullet point, put them on a little half sheet, and pass them out to parents as they're coming in. So at least if you're not able to sit down and really chit chat with all of them, you kind of, you know, have a good idea of, you know, oh, I did at least touch base with somebody because they saw the paper and they were able to read it. So make a checklist. Tip number 1. Okay, so tip number 2 is to create number charts. So I've done this the past 3 years. And again, this kind of goes along the lines of the checklist, but I want parents to know what they need to be doing. So what and where to find things in the room, because obviously they're not going to know your room as well as you do. And you can't just expect them to be like, oh, so-and-so is over here in this corner of the room. So what I did was I created big number charts, and then so I had them in the different little areas so that they would just follow the numbers and be able to go and complete all of the different things that I wanted them to complete, or if I wanted them to see something, you know, they had those little number charts to be able to follow. The past 2 years, I've bought little frames from IKEA. They're really cheap little frames, and I've used those in the past too, which worked out really, really well. I'll insert a picture somewhere so that you guys can see those. But those worked out really, really well, and I could change them out for centers and activities or just different things that we were doing throughout the year. So those were always nice to have on hand. But create some type of number chart flow so that, if by chance they don't get the little checklist, they can at least follow the numbers and they know exactly what it is that they need to be doing during that time. Tip number 3 is to give them something to do right away. There is nothing worse to me than just sitting around and not knowing what is expected of you. You're just sitting there kind of hanging out, don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Y'all, to me, that is like one of my biggest fears. I absolutely hate it. I get anxiety over it. It stresses me out to no belief. So give them something to do right away, whether it be filling out paperwork, whether it be sorting out supplies, whether it be doing a little scavenger hunt with their child during Meet the Teacher. Give them something to do right away. So in case you are with that parent who's like chatting your ear off, they have something that they could be doing until, that parent's finally done. And you're like, oh, hey, did you finish and did you go do that scavenger hunt? It's super important. You're going to really find out a lot of information from that. So that's a really something that will kind of ease parents. And it'll ease their child as well, so that you're not just trying to move your body in all different directions, because let's face it, there's one of you and there's probably if you have 20 kids, there's 40 of them if both parents come, which can be a little chaotic in your room. So give them something to do right away. Tip number 4 is to organize your paperwork in a folder and label them home and return. So I've done this every single year since I've been teaching, and it has saved me to no extent. I just take a plain folder. I've done black, I've done blue in the past. My first year teaching, I have no idea what color they were. They were just probably whatever I had on hand, and that's okay too. And what I did was I sorted all the paperwork, all of the information sheets that I wanted parents to have, all of the forms that they needed to fill out. And I would designate, one side was keep at home information for you, and the second side was please return back to school. So I already had those sorted before they ever came in. And when they were sitting at their child's desk, that folder was sitting on their child's desk ready to go for them to be able to start filling out paperwork. Again, goes back to number 3, give them something to do right away so that they're not just sitting there kind of looking out in space and wondering, what am I supposed to be doing right now? So using a folder just to organize everything. If you don't want to use pocket folders, you can definitely use those manila folders. The only thing that I kind of run into with that is that, your parents are also having to play a guessing game of what is it that I'm supposed to be keeping at home and what is it that I'm supposed to be returning. And what's nice too is that if you're using the pocket folder, parents can just keep that and put that in their child's, whatever kind of system they have at home to be able to keep all their child's information, so that if they ever ask you a question, you could say, remember that folder that I gave you, that blue folder that I gave you during parent night? That folder's going to have all that information in it, so you can reference that so that you're not having to answer those questions a million times. So definitely keep those. And what I even did too was as I was going through my presentation, I would walk through that folder, and that was literally my presentation, because everything that I wanted them to know was inside of that folder. I mean, it saved my life, y'all. Not gonna lie. Tip number 5 is to have baskets or trays out to organize your returned paperwork. So there are some parents, y'all, that will get that paperwork done in 2 minutes. And then they're like, here you go. And then you're spending pretty much the entire evening having to sort all this paperwork. Don't do that to yourself. What I even did was I did all of the paperwork that was returned. I did them in separate colors too, because let's face it. 1, the colors are pretty, and 2, it's so much easier to identify it by saying the blue form or the yellow form or the orange form than saying the media release form. Okay, what? Media what? So put them in color if that helps you too. And what I did was, I took, I think, one of my blank boards the past couple of years, because I didn't have anything on there anyways. And one year I taped it to the bottom of it, and then the next year I think I put it up on my cork board, and just with a safety, not a safety pin, but a push pin. and I had it above or below the tray that they were supposed to turn it in. If you put it on the bottom, y'all, one parent's gonna mess up, and then it's gonna mess up your whole flow. So put it somewhere where all parents are gonna be able to see it the entire time. Either tape it at the bottom of the tray or put it somewhere above the tray if you have some type of a cork board or dry erase board that you can just kind of pin it up there. And then have your parents be able to go and sort those. So that when they come to you and say, here's all the paperwork, you can say, oh, thank you so much for doing that. Do you mind going over and sorting that out for me over there? So you don't have to deal with that, y'all, because let me tell you, it gets exhausting. I'm just saying. That first night, you're going to be so tired. You're going to be tired. Tip number 6 is to have a giving tree. So depending on your district, your school, you may or may not be able to do this, but at the school that I was at, we were able to have some type of a giving tree. And these are just things that you might need at the beginning of the year that you just, we put in so much money, I think, for us as teachers, just creating our classrooms, that, we forget those little items that we may need during the beginning of the year. And then sometimes, PTO doesn't put in certain school supplies into their supply list, and then you're missing things. It's a whole lot of a mess. So I've done 2 different types of giving trees. One time I literally created a tree on my bulletin board, and then I bought the little die cut apples, and I wrote just with a marker, really super simple, what I needed. I needed batteries, or I needed sticky notes, or cardstock, or just little things like that. Ink. I mean, hello, ink is expensive. So anything like that, I would put it on my giving tree. The past couple of years, I've done something a little bit different. I literally took a vase, and I went outside, and we found sticks, and I just put a bunch of sticks in there, and I printed out little cards, and on the cards, it had the picture, because what I found, if I just write it what I wanted, parents would always get the wrong thing sometimes. Like, it never failed. So what I would do was I would type out just on a plain document or whatever, I would put a picture of it, and then I would type out what it was. And I would cut that out, string a little ribbon, and I had them hanging. So right before parents left, I said, thank you all so much for all of your support and coming in. I would really love, if you'd stop over by the giving tree. There are a few items that I need for the classroom just to make it so much more wonderful for your children on that first day of school. So if you can help out in any way, I really would appreciate your support. The giving tree is over there. You are not required to take anything. So yes. Pretty sweet, simple. You don't have to make a big deal about it, but let parents know that it's there. Also, make sure that you're checking with your administration and making sure that that is something that you can actually do. So, Giving Tree has helped me quite a bit the past few years, so I've actually loved using that. Okay, so tip number 7 is to have a sign-in sheet. This is important because, well, we don't all know their names yet. I, number 1, am awful with names, and it takes me forever to learn a parent's name. I will learn their child's name in a heartbeat. Parent's name, not so much, unless they have the same last names. That's about it. So I would even put the sign-in sheet somewhere outside of your classroom, maybe almost not like right outside of your door, because then it'll be really congested as far as with parents trying to get in and out, but maybe off to the side a little bit so that they know. If you put it inside of your classroom somewhere in some awkward little spot, parents are not going to see it. So try to put it somewhere and just have a big, huge sign saying, Mrs. Spackman's class, parents, welcome, so excited to see you, please sign in. And then have little arrows or something pointing down to the sheets. But make sure that they're putting their child's name, their name, and then maybe an email address that you can reach them at. This is important because you have so many parents that are coming in and out of your classroom, and not all parents are going to come. I mean, let's face it, not every parent is going to come. And you really want to be able to reach out to those parents and at least be able to say hi. So what I would do was after that, the next day when I was just having a teacher work day, I would just sit down and just start making phone calls and being able to talk to parents and say, hey, missed you over here at this. I do have a packet of paperwork that you could fill out. I would love to meet your child if you want to bring them by. I would love to set up a time with you so that we can meet, etc., etc. So creating that sign-in sheet just so that you know which kind of people are coming in and out will help you in the long run too. Plus, it'll probably help you remember their names better because I'm not good at it at all. So create some type of sign-in sheet for your parents to sign in when they're coming in. Okay, so now tip number 8 is to have games or toys for siblings. So it never fails that during Meet the Teacher, some younger siblings are going to end up showing up. So always have some type of games or something that they can do off to the side where they're not screaming their heads off with their parents and their parents are struggling trying to get things done. So get some type of games or toys, have a little area for them so that they're not causing too much of a distraction, because let's face it, it's going to end up happening. Babysitters are going to fall through, but parents really still want to be there for that information. And for me, if they're here and they had to bring a little sibling, that's okay. I'm not going to, make a big deal about it, because I really want to meet them and also make sure that they're getting all the information that they need before school starts, or after school starts in this case. So I always have some type of buckets and something that they can go and do off to the side, and they're still kind of playing, and I put them kind of in an odd little corner in my room typically so that they're not causing too much of a distraction. So think about siblings. Also try to keep something for them that will be entertaining, and where you're still able to put across all the information that you need to get across, and then also still meet those parents. Tip number 9 is to have some type of goodie for parents. So I've done things a little different every single year. Last year I did little bags that had a cute little poem in front, and then I put a bunch of little apple flavored goodies in there. I had goodies for my students one year. I always have some type of a gift for my students too on Meet the Teacher as well. This year I think I'm doing water bottles and popcorn. Thanks for popping in. Just something sweet, just letting them know, hey, you care. So, and who doesn't love munchies? I think a way to anyone's heart is through food. So if you can give them a little bit of food, they're probably going to love you. It just shows the time and the effort that you put into things. And it doesn't have to be anything really extravagant. There's some really wonderful ideas out there that make things fun and inviting and sweet. So think of something that you could do that could be really inexpensive. You don't have to make it anything extravagant. Okay, so my very last tip number 10, is I think one that's going to be the most important one. Have a partner teacher or your principal come up with some type of code word or code some to get parents out of your room. Because let's face it, you're going to have parents who are not going to end up leaving because they're going to be chatting your ears off. They hang out and you are pretty much done for the day. Okay, so having some type of code word is really important. So what I did was I got together either with my principal, or you can get together with your partner teachers or somebody who's across the hall from you and just say, hey, in case this happens, or, a parent is in my room and I need them to leave, because we would end up having parents in our room until literally 8 o'clock at night, and you're trying to get them to go so that you can go home because you're exhausted. You've been working all day long, you've been preparing for that day, and then now you're kind of talking with these parents who just don't want to leave. And they don't mean bad at all. They just want to sit down and chit chat, and they want to get to know you because you're going to be spending so much time with their child, which is totally understandable. But I got together and said, hey, in case so-and-so does not end up leaving, come into my room and just say, hey, we have a meeting or something to that extent, and Bridget, we have to do this. Or, hey, we're all going out to dinner. We need you to come with us. Something simple and sweet and to the point. So that in case that did happen, you could get out and parents would kind of get the clue and they would leave. Because we had, I think, one year our principal would get on and say, hey parents, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for joining us for parent night. We are going to be closing down the door, so please make sure you're wrapping up within the next 5 minutes. Well, still, some of those parents would still not leave your room and they would not get the hint and leave. So that's when you would have that other teacher come in and kind of scoop you up and try to get you out of that situation. You also want to make sure that you have anything that will help you get out of any other types of situations. I know my first year teaching, I had some parents who were very pushy, and I literally went home and cried because I said, these parents are going to literally chew me up and spit me out this year. So having something to where another partner teacher can help you out, get you out of those situations so that you're not almost backed into a corner is going to be really, really helpful for you, and it's not going to stress you out as much. So have something together, think about whatever you want it to be, but just get something to where, if those parents are not leaving and it's that time that they need to be leaving, you can kind of have something that will say, well, I'm so sorry, thank you so much for coming in, I really enjoyed meeting with you. I have to go and do this. So we'll talk together. We'll talk soon, or I'll see you on the first day of school or something to that extent. And then you could just kind of leave and walk out and go do that. So definitely get together with somebody next to you that is willing to do that. So those are all of my 10 tips for parent night and meet the teacher. I hope you guys found this video helpful and useful. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and share it out to any of those teacher friends who may need some of these wonderful tips that will help them during meet the teacher and parent nights. And of course, as always, if you have any comments or questions, please make sure you leave them down below. I love hearing from all of you. And if you have an idea that I did not mention for parent night or meet the teacher, leave it down below too. I love hearing some of your ideas. You guys are all so very creative. I mean, with my vlogs that I've been doing and some of the ideas that you guys have been having with Harry Potter theme, I have been loving them. So definitely leave those down below. I absolutely love hearing from all of you. And I will talk to you guys really, really soon. Bye! And then I'll just use a border just to kind of trim up and clean up the edges so you don't see any of like the cut parts of it. But it is so unbelievably easy. Like, it's easier than using paper, because I feel like with paper you have to worry about it not crinkling and not having any creases in the middle, because you see all of those creases in paper. With fabric, you can